Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Miller and I am with Alliance Abroad Group. Today we are going to be talking about the Work Experience Australia program and how you can work and live in Australia. Our programs are internships for students and young professionals. They are for 6 months or a year. A little bit about myself. I am the university coordinator for the Work Experience Australia program, and I speak with students, faculty, and staff about our program and about getting it implemented in campuses so that students and staff are aware of paid internships in Australia. During this time, we're going to show a brief slideshow, and then we're going to also show a pretty quick 2-minute video. So with that being said, let's get it going. All right, so as I mentioned, the Work Experience Australia program offers paid internships in the hospitality industry, as well as business and events. This means that participants can either work in 4- and 5-star hotels for 6 months to a year, or if they're interested in more business type of internships, they can look at programs for 2 to 3 months, or they can look at programs for 6 months. They're two different programs, and they're both extremely exciting, and they're great for students looking for internships. Looks like we're having a bit of technical difficulties here. So how does our program work? First off, all students would either speak to a career advisor or they would speak directly with me. The way that they can speak with me is by reaching out to Australia at allianceabroad.com, and we'll also show that email address at the end of the presentation. But after we speak about the program, we're going to look at a few different things: experience and what sort of job the student would like. So if a student is interested in the business or events type role, they would be looking at a 2, 3, or 6-month program. This means that they would be working full-time hours in an office doing any sort of business or event type role. If someone is interested in the hospitality program, our time frame is 6 months or 12 months. So after we have a conversation and decide the best program for you, you would submit an application. With an application, you pay an application fee of $300. And then once we receive that application, you will receive a welcome email from my colleague and an alumni of the program, and she will walk you through the first steps. After you've had a conversation with my colleague, the enrollment coordinator, her name is Rose, we would start working for you. So we would be reaching out to HR companies or HR managers from hotels and resorts in Australia. So as I mentioned before, our program is a cultural exchange, internship program. Because of that, we have a fee associated with it. For the 6-month program, the fee is $1,500. And for the 12-month program, the fee is $2,500. Now, a lot of the times I'm asked what is included with this fee. And this slide right here shows you exactly what's included with the $1,500 and $2,500 fees. The difference between the fees is that for the $1,500 placement, it's for 6 months, and for the $2,500 placement, it's for 12 months, and they're two different placements. The most important aspect of our program is that our participants are placed in jobs before they leave for Australia. We also have professional resume reviews. We guide our participants through the interview process, meaning we schedule a mock interview, as well as schedule the interview with the HR manager of hotels or resorts. We assist our participants in getting to Australia with a pre-departure orientation, which means that we walk you through all the steps, how to obtain the visa, where you should go for flights, amongst other things. We also provide 2 nights hostel accommodation upon arrival, tax file numbers and consultation with tax back, and amongst all, a fantastic experience. If anyone has any questions, once again, please feel free to write your questions in the comment section on the page, and we will answer those questions for you. So one of the other questions for the participants students ask is, how do I pay for the program? And there's actually a few different ways to pay for the program. You can either pay for the program up front. So everything would be due soon after you apply for the program. You could go through the deferred payment option, which means that taxback.com would actually pay the remaining program balance of the 6-month or the 12-month program. This means that after you apply for the program, you'd have a balance 6-month program of $1,200, and your program balance of 12 months would be $2,000. TaxBack is gracious to pay that amount for you, and at the end of your program, when you are finished with your 6 or 12-month program, you would be eligible for an Australian tax return. TaxBack would take the program fee from your tax return, and you would have remaining money to travel around Australia. The third option is we recently started working with a company called Fund My Travel. This is similar to Kickstarter, and what that means is that you could start a page and reach out to all of your family and friends and ask them to help fund your travel. We have a link for this company on our website, and it's very easy to get it started. If you needed any assistance, please let us know, and that's what we're here for. So the minimum wage in Australia is roughly $16.52 an hour. As I mentioned beforehand, we work with this company called TaxBack, and they are a company that will help you with your Australian tax return. We've estimated that after 6 months, you would earn, or any participant would earn, about $12,000. Giving our participants an estimated refund of 4,000 Australian dollars. Next to that, you could see the 12-month estimated earnings of about $25,000, and refund would be roughly about $8,000. Now, if participants pay for this program up front, that is their money to keep, and they can use it to travel with, or come home and save. If they decide to do the deferred payment option, then that sum would get cut because participants would be using that deferred payment option. So TaxBack would be removing the program balance from that number. We're going crazy over here. We've had a few technical difficulties, but it's all right. It's all right. We're giving you a heads up on the next slide. So these are some of the frequently asked questions I typically get on a daily basis. They're very important questions, and it's great to have these because we can essentially, get you guys thinking about the program and come to a conversation with different questions. But how do I get my visa? We assist with any visa, whether it be from students from the United States or Korea, the UK, any student that is eligible for the working holiday visa, we will assist them, and we will tell them where to go. It's not a very long process. it can take anywhere from 48 hours to a week, week and a half, but it is fairly easy to obtain that visa. The other important question is, what type of internship will I receive? The type of internship that our participants receive really has to deal with their experience. So if a participant has experience in food and beverage, and they have about 2 years of experience in the food and beverage industry, then we would place them for a food and beverage role. Similarly, if we have an internship for the event or business type of role, then it would go towards an event or business type of internship. We place participants in food and beverage roles. We place participants in housekeeping roles. We place them in culinary roles, guest services, and front desk roles. It really ranges depending on the experience of that participant. I've received the housing question quite a bit. Is my housing provided? And there's a two-part answer to that question. We work with companies in more rural locations. So we work with companies in hotels and resorts that are in the outback. They could be on an island near the Great Barrier Reef. They could be, in an area in Western Australia, maybe further away from cities such as Perth. And if that's the case, then housing would be provided, because there really is no other apartments near where the participants would be working. If a participant wants to work in a larger city, such as Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, Brisbane, any of those type areas, then housing would be student-led. However, we assist participants before they go. So we give them all the information they would need and prepare them for looking for housing once they hit the ground in Australia. It typically takes about 4 days on average to find housing. And housing can run from about $250 to $300 a week, depending on location. And the last question really is, a question I hear every day. And it's one of the most important questions. How much will I be getting paid? And that's all based on a few different things. We look at experience of the participant. We will look at job. We look at the placement. So where is the participant going to be living? What city are they living in? Just as across the board, if we have a participant that is going to be in food and beverage in Sydney, they would expect to be making anywhere from roughly $18 to $22 an hour. The interesting thing about Australia is that if a participant is working on the weekends, they'll typically get 25% more added to their hourly wage. And if they're working on a public holiday, they'll typically get double of what their hourly wage is. So a lot of our participants go to Australia and make quite a bit of money, and a lot of them utilize that for traveling or coming back to their home country. We're keeping an eye on these questions here. Once again, if anybody has any questions, please type that in the comment section, and we will certainly answer the questions for you. So one of our final slides is a map of Australia. We have this in order to show the peak hiring seasons of Australia. We also have this to show you where we place participants and have placed participants in the past. So as you can see, the peak hiring seasons from the northern portion of Australia is typically March through September. The areas you'd be looking at there are Cairns, Port Douglas, Brisbane, areas near the Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast. Port Douglas and Cairns are near the Great Barrier Reef. And in the past, we have had placed participants in Coral Bay, Broome, which is Western Australia, the northern portion of Western Australia. Similarly, the peak hiring seasons in the southern portion of Australia are found typically from October through March. Um, we work with companies in Sydney, Melbourne, and Perth. In the past, we've placed participants in Tasmania, and we always enjoy sending participants there because there's a lot of great jobs in that area, especially in Sydney and Melbourne, and a lot of participants really enjoy going to those locations. Last but not least, a giant part of our program is helping participants write their own stories. So we want to help participants work in Australia, experience a whole new culture, and go back to their home country with not only a fantastic experience, some great friends, great stories, but a life lesson and a life experience, and that is going to another country and learning how to work with other cultures. So here we have other participants. Matt, who was working in a hotel in Sydney, he was working in a guest services. The hotel he was working at had a lot of fantastic history to it, so he really enjoyed learning about that. He enjoyed meeting, all the new, customers and the employees, and really getting to know Sydney. Lance was a really great story because we ran a competition where we asked chefs to show us their best recipe. And the winner of that competition was given a flight to Australia and a free program. Lance actually won that competition and is currently working in a hotel in Sydney and really enjoying his time, learning the culture, meeting new people, and learning how to, learning these new cooking methods. Jessica is one of our participants in the business and events internship. She's actually from Houston and has been in Melbourne and really enjoyed her time there. Allison was in Coral Bay. We actually had that marked off on our map. And she is from what I've spoken to her, she's still in Australia. She's enjoying her time, still in Western Australia, and she had jobs anywhere from working at a hotel to a deckhand on a ship, and just the ocean and the beaches and the people just really made her enjoy her time in Australia. And the person on the left feeding kangaroos, her name was Janelle. And she was one of our first participants. She was in Darwin and ended up living with a host family and really enjoying her time, in Australia. So I've mentioned this a few times. If you have any questions, please write them in the comment section. But you can also send any questions to australia@allianceabroad.com for any more information. Next, we're going to show you guys a quick video. It's about 2 minutes long, so it's not very long at all. And it really shows all of our participants. I'm on camera. It shows all of our participants and some of their stories. It's a really fantastic video. Our marketing department did a really awesome job. So we're going to get this shared up in a few moments here. So please enjoy. All right, so that concludes our Google Hangout today. Thanks for joining us. If you tuned in, as I mentioned, if you have any questions, please let me know. And if you're excited about the program, please feel free to reach out to us. We want to help you write your own story.